Okay, hello guys, we're back with another Silo season 2 episode 7. That is what you've clicked for. And yeah, I mean I don't know what to say. Silo episodes get me crazy sometimes, but this episode had me like smacking stuff, you know. That's how hyped I was for some stuff. Mainly the beginning of the episode was kind of insane. We'll break that down here, and there's a lot. It was an overwhelming amount of stuff. But first, we begin with Lucas in the Legacy. In the vault, getting to access the Legacy. We see Bernard let him in, which is very interesting. And then we cut to Knox, who says he's getting something from his friend. His friend tells him to be careful with it. We don't know what it is, but we know it's gunpowder later. And we see at the same time Shirley getting papers donated from people. And then we go back to Lucas, who identifies himself into the programming by speaking to this screen. It's almost like a Gideon from the show The Flash, if you've seen that by chance. Like a blue robotic figure that he's programmed himself into. And then Bernard tells him that'll be your living quarters that way with the bed and food. And we get this slight glimpse here. We see a bed. I don't really see food, but we don't know how big the living quarters are, but it looks like some background that has mountains. I think there are mountains in there. No, but this is definitely a screen, probably. I don't know, look like what outside may have looked like before they were in silos, or they have underground mountains. I don't know. Then we get a freaking other door. There's two doors in this vault. For one, I didn't know that. I thought this was it. It was the vault. It was the Legacy. It's this screen somehow. Yeah, but there's a door that leads to the living quarters and a door that leads to something else, which is a giant library with the understanding of the solar system and artifacts. And then there's this one thing on the left. It's very... I tried to pause on it like 15 times. It like goes away instantly. But is this like a human? Is this supposed to be a human? I thought it looked alien-like, which is weird. But yeah. And then at the same time, we get the people, the mechanical and the down deep, launching Juliet Lives to the top, basically. Then we go back to Lucas, who's with Bernard, and Bernard tells him the lights are called stars, and he's like, hey, I already know that, bro. Judge Meadows told me. And then here on the right, I was just examining this room. Every time they brought this room, I just paused and looked at everything. You know, there's some windy stairs on the right, desk in the middle, an earth globe toward the right. Is that like it's like an iPad in the middle. And Bernard said this is the whole of human history in this one room. And he says a fraction of it is in the vault's library, but the rest is stored in the iPad, which makes sense. And we get a confirmation right here, an insane confirmation. This is one of the moments I was freaking out, that Bernard says that he knows, given he studied all this information, and that he knows the silo was built 352 years ago. I don't know if that's all silos could have gotten built at the same time. I'm guessing not, you know, maybe they staggered with construction or whatnot. But this silo was built 352 years ago, a confirmation of the timeline, and the rebellion's 140 years ago, whatnot. We can kind of establish a more established timeline now. And then Bernard says he has no idea why they're here. He could be lying. I felt like he was being truthful. Why wouldn't you tell Lucas after he told Lucas all this other stuff, you know? But he says in all his learning, he doesn't know what happened to Earth or what happened to put them in silos, kind of a thing. And then here I was also wondering, like, if we have all the knowledge of the before times, so why don't we just tell everyone, you know? Tell everyone that there's stars. There's a thing called swimming in case you fall in water. Stuff like that. Why don't we tell people? I don't know. Maybe everyone's going to know by the end of the series. We'll see. Then Bernard says that deciphering the code is the priority. Don't go looking at stars, basically. Then Lucas says that what he's doing must be very important to Bernard because it's a problem Salvador Quinn went such great lengths to seal. Salvador Quinn head of IT, 140 years ago during the rebellion, went to such great lengths to hide something, to seal away some problem, something, and Bernard wants to know. And here I was wondering, is this the biggest moment of the show? Like, both seasons, is this it? Is this the biggest moment of the show? We get confirmation, so much stuff in one scene about the past, about the future, whatnot. It's just, is this the biggest moment of the show? You let me know if there's a bigger moment in your opinion down below in the comments. After this, we go to the robotic voice telling Mailer Holland there's a Delta event in the central shaft. And then Bernard goes from addressing Lucas to go running out of this. And I was like, damn, this is like the only time I felt sympathy for him. I was like, damn, he's a stressed out guy, huh? He's a busy guy. Like, he does a lot. But he asked for it. I don't know. I don't like him. But then we go to the judicial officer from season 1, episode 8 that saw Juliet get captured, who was brought in one episode for questioning. She sees a letter, as well as Bernard, that says IT lies to us. Mechanical wants the truth about what happened to Juliet. How did Meadows really die? What is IT hiding? Look and see. I don't know why I said holding. Hiding, look and see. And then they shut the power off. And I was like, y'all put out some reading material and then turned off the lights. Like, now they can't read. But we see the power is on only IT. And this is because we know from last episode or 2 episodes ago that power to IT levels run from outside cables that go outside of the silo. And then when the intro hits, and I was thinking, this is a hell of an intro. Then we go back to Solo and Juliet. They explain how the pump that they have to get to is 8 levels under. And Juliet says that Solo's got time to live, and she doesn't. Her silo's going to die. And he's like, what if you die when you try and go to the other silo? What if they kill you? What if something happens? Like, what if you never come back for me? And here I was thinking as well, like, Solo knows a lot now, given the vault information. Now that we know that's in the vault, we know how he knows so much. We know how he knows so much about the before times, the information, and we also now know that they have food and water in there. But how much? Is it enough to have sustained him this long? Or is he somehow going to the cafeteria or something? I don't know. We go back to our silo, where the power has been turned back on by Mechanical, and the sheriff department, Paul and Hank, come down. They're mad at Shirley and Knox, basically saying, why'd you turn the power off just to turn it back on? That's just awfully dramatic. And then we see Carla finally in private holding with Bernard. And here I was also wondering, there's light from above. Is this sunlight from up top or just like light? Because for some reason I thought it was sunlight. Like, is this the top level? Is that what's going on here? Or it could just be like another level above them with just some light. But to me it looks like sunlight for some reason. You let me know what you think. But he explains how he wants to know where gunpowder is. Basically, she's like, if you tell me if my friends are okay, I'll tell you how much gunpowder they have. You want to do that deal? And he's like, no. And it made me laugh because, like, damn, he's cold. It was it was pretty funny. But then we go to Sims and his wife with his child, and I guess his child's scared. He's not really saying much, and the mom comes in. Camille's like, are you okay? Sims is like, he's fine, aren't you, big guy? I think it was kind of weird. But he has the Pez dispenser. The Pez dispenser from season 1. It's been shown a bit in season 2, but the Pez dispenser is still alive. It ended up with Sims's child. And Sims explains to him the Pez dispenser in the before times was used to keep people safe from scary things, and that he should hold on to it, which is just not true. And then he leaves because he says he's not hungry, even though Sims made him pancakes with syrup. With syrup, guys. And, like, wasn't there fruit too? I don't remember. I don't know. I can't see you denying that, even if you're not hungry. But then we also get confirmation here when Sims and his wife talk that Bernard turned off the IT lights. He ran back into IT and turned off the lights so he wouldn't seem suspicious. And she basically tells him that if you come to Bernard yourself, it's out of kindness, and if he comes to you, it's out of business. Then we go back to Solo and Juliet, and they kind of explain their process here of what they're gonna do. They're gonna plug the power cord in, and they're gonna use an escape line that has a bell at the top of it that rings. A bell will ring to let him know that she needs to be reeled in like a fish, he explains. Another reference from the old world. And he also explained to her that she could get the bends. We know what the bends are. If you don't, he kind of explains it. You know, it's kind of if you go through different levels of water too fast, the pressure could like ruin your joints and whatnot. And basically, I mean, she listens, but she's had it. She says, "This is your side. You save it. I'm leaving." And then he's like, no, I can't. You're like a mechanic and whatnot. And he's like, I'm head of IT. I'm Solo. I can't do this. And she screams, "You're not even Solo." He starts kind of losing his mind. And he said, please keep me from ruining everything. Keep me from ruining everything. I'm an F up. I ruin everything. And she's like, fine, I'll go do it. Then we go to Bernard addressing the Silo people. Says that rebels launched an assault on Paul Billings and took him hostage and forced him to say stuff that he said on the radio last episode. So the radios will remain disabled, which is insane. And then somebody asked in the crowd why IT had power on, and he says mechanical left power on specifically in IT because they can control the power and just to make us look bad. Which, I mean, that can be easily disproved, you know, and then he'll be shown as a liar. Then we go to a guy named Martin, who is a listener in the Down Deep, who the sheriff department have kind of captured. He says he didn't poison the food supply, but he's a listener, and he goes to where notes are. Notes are left in a scavenge room, and said that there was a new note today with a plot to murder Shirley and Knox. And then we go back to Shirley and Knox talking to each other. And Knox says, "You're going to tell me why you kissed me?" And she's like, "You kissed me." If you all watch it back, it's clearly Shirley. The kiss is Knox. So, I don't know. But Knox and Shirley need to be brought into custody as the deputy people come in. And they're like, we need to, like, protect you. And here I love when shows tell you what someone else said when they tell the other characters. Like, I guess my example would be in the episode. Like I just said, there was a note with a plot to murder Shirley and Knox. They didn't say it in that moment. They just said, I found a note today. Cuts. We go to here and they say that's what the note said to these characters. It saves time, and I wanted to appreciate that right now. Then we go to Bernard, who says he needs a search warrant, but Sims, the judge, won't sign it and wants to speak with him first. Then we go back to Solo and Juliet with finished boots that have weights in them. And then he explains to her that there something called swimming, where you pull through the water with your arms and legs, which is interesting. And then also how they used to see underwater with goggles. And he's a little embarrassed, but he pulls them out and he says, "I made you some." And I was like, look at Solo making some goggles for him. And she barely thanked him. She's like, "Great, thanks." And then she went to go move on. I mean, I understand why she's mad. And she said, "I'll be mad at you if my Silo dies." And I was like, here as well. I was like, hopefully she knows you got to adjust those goggles to fit you, you know? Sometimes the water seeps in, you know? Then we get a maybe the most angry we have seen Bernard walking in to Sims's office saying, "You sign what I tell you to, and you give me my effing search warrant. You do what I tell you to. You look like you're powerful. You're actually not. And you keep up the deception when I tell you to." And Sims is like, "I gave you a decade of my life to be your shadow. Why would you never let me?" Bernard's like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that's I forgot to do that." He's just being a jerk. But he says, "You lack curiosity, Sims. You lack curiosity. You always have. But my new shadow has curiosity." And he's like, wait. New shadow Lucas is your new shadow, Lucas. But Sims goes off here, says that there's paint going on that says Julia lives. People are in a riot. And he's like, "You didn't pay someone to paint that. You didn't tell someone to paint that, did you? You're not in control. You're running out of allies," and moves. And I was like, oh shoot. And then Bernard comes in and tells him that Camille, his wife, let mechanical, what do they call them? Not vigilantes kind of go. They let them go. That Camille let them go. And they set it up last episode when Bernard confronted Camille, and she said, oh, I already told him. He's my husband. I told him everything. But she didn't, and now he knows. Then we go back to Juliet, who is going underwater. She's going down those levels. And it looked like more than 8 levels. I don't know. It just felt like it. But she ties a rope to the bottom. And then we go back to Walker, who wants to know about judicial seclusion because of Carlo. And she explains 25 years ago she lost because she didn't do enough. And she'll be damned if she does that this time. Then we go back to Lucas, who is in this room still in the background. There's a screen that's kind of fading and changing stuff. And I was wondering here, how did they build this set? Like, this set looks amazing. It looks amazing. I just want to give props there. But he says, show me at bash again. It's a different type of code. And then he thinks to himself, what if the code isn't letters? What if it's numeric ciphers? So he says, show me numeric ciphers. And then we go back to Juliet, who finds the pump, plugs it in. We go back to Paul's wife, Kathleen, who says he followed Francis in the cafeteria and that things were getting out of hand. And Knox says they're going to need someone that they'll listen to, so let us out. We go back to Juliet, who is requesting the other end of the pump to be plugged in, I guess, through the bell system. She plugs it in, does the switch. She did it. And she starts swimming. She takes his advice. She practicing that swimming. Then we go back to the cafeteria where the lunch lady, I believe they said her name was Maeve. Everyone's accusing her of poisoning the food. She's got a knife. And then the sheriff department, Knox, Shirley kind of calmed down the situation. But basically, they kind of bust her, saying that she actually did poison the food. And she says, yes, I'm sorry. My mother was above the barricade. I was afraid they're going to kill her if I didn't do it. But even though I did it, I still warned you guys before it killed anyone. And yeah, I mean, it was true. I'm not mad at her. She kept her mother alive and didn't get anyone killed. So, I mean, she did a good job. But she explains how she planted the note about Knox and Shirley's murder. And Knox explains how they're not going to punish her like they do up top. They're not going to send her to the mines. Then we go back to Lucas, who explains that how the code works, which is a pretty big part of the episode as well. He explains that there's a number that corresponds to every word or in the code to a certain page of a book. And he says in the code he found number 7 in the code twice. So basically, it would be a book, page 77, and find the exact number to correspond words to make a code. And he explains that he tried the legacy. It was no books in the legacy. And Bernard's like, yeah, you got it wrong, idiot, kind of a thing. But he's like, that's exactly what the person would do if they were writing this code. They want a book. They would not want a book from the legacy. They want a code to be solved. So they must have used a relic. And they explain this book has to be over 140 years old. And I was thinking Meadows. And I was thinking Sims does have Meadows like property now. But Bernard pulls out the Wizard of Oz from his shelf. This is the exact book I was picturing when I was thinking of it, because they showed it earlier in the series. And there's a few other books that you can check out in that video that if it's not Wizard of Oz, it could be those. Or, I mean, I guess they're leaning towards Wizard of Oz. But I think Sims has those ones, but it could be that. But anyways, we go back to Sims and his wife. She explains that she was making friends because Bernard would find out one way or another about letting the mechanical people go. And she didn't know how anything was going to end, so she thinks it's smart to play both sides. I don't know if she's telling the truth here or not, but like, but basically, we kind of learn here that when she was saying going to him as a kindness, him coming to use a business was just keeping him from Bernard, so he wouldn't find out. But he explains, let's make moves together from now on, or not at all. Then we go to Juliet with a crazy part, but also not a very unexpected part, I guess. But where Juliet rings the bell, she's like, I plugged it in. Bring me up, Solo. Bring me up. But right when she rings it, the rope gets cut and falls down, like right after she rings it as well. I wonder why he wouldn't have waited. And then the oxygen thing got cut as well, so she can't breathe underwater, the air pump. She takes her weighted boots off, and tries to go up. She climbs this cable that is keeping the thing running, and I loved the directing here. I'll talk about more of the swimming sequence directing, but I loved when she rang the bell, and like the previous times we saw the bell ring, we saw Solo react, but this time we just saw the bell. We didn't see Solo cut the rope. We didn't see what happened. And I just think that's so perfect. That ambiguity is just it's just that feeling that good mystery and ambiguity can do, especially a director can do that as well as a writer, and I just felt like that was perfect. Then we go back to Walker, who's installing a camera in her own apartment to get a message up top, then immediately unplugs after like 30 seconds. But then we go back to Juliet, who decides to stop pulling on this thing and just go full swimming mode. And I love the directing here that made you feel like her, that made you feel the distance of the top that I guess didn't go from above, that stayed pretty far down below her, and it was great. And then she made it to the top, took a breath, and I was like, this fool Solo probably went and locked himself in the vault again, so he's safe. But I was thinking here as well, she's got the power though, right? Like she can like take that cord away, and his silo's just gonna flood and he's gonna die, right? Unless it's too late and it's stuck on until switched again. Like she did a little switch. I wonder if it's stuck on until someone goes back down there and switches it again. I hope not. I hope she has the power. But I feel like he'd know that she could do that, so I don't know. But it might not be what I'm hoping. But we go to Bernard, who learns that Walker turned the camera on and sees that Walker and Carla mean something to each other from a camera while they were in the cell a little back. And then we go back to the final scene, which was just, it had me hyped up, and it has me hyped from next episode, which is Juliet screaming Solo. Like that's one of my favorite moments. Her just screaming Solo like she's out for vengeance or whatever. And she got that adrenaline in her as well, like she'd win a fight. But she goes up, sees it was cut, sees an axe on the ground, and then sees blood going up the stairs, and then the episode ends. And here I was wondering, okay, I mean, is there somebody else here? Is obviously what it has to be a contemplation. Is there somebody else here that stopped Solo, that stopped the rope? Did Solo not do anything wrong, especially since they didn't show us? This is why the ambiguity is so good. Was it somebody else in the silo? Because that would be such a good twist. You're led to believe that Solo's the only one that survived, and nope, somebody else is here. That'd be a great twist. But there's also the possibility that he hurt himself, right? He said he's an F up. He said he ruins everything. Maybe he's not in the right mental state. Maybe he was upset that he cut it or something like that and had to punish himself before he ran away. Like maybe he thought Juliet was dead and had to punish himself by hurting himself. Or maybe it's the dual personality thing. Maybe since his actual name isn't Solo, he's not the head of IT. He's embodying the real Solo. Maybe he's got two personalities kind of fighting each other. Maybe like Golem. One personality went to cut down Juliet, and the other didn't want to, and kind of got mad at himself and hurt himself. So I mean, basically the two things are he hurt himself or somebody else got in the way and was just waiting to make their move, I guess. And maybe it'd be interesting if like the real Solo was there. We still don't know about those bodies outside the vault. And what I need these last 3 episodes to be, I need one episode to just be in Silo 17, this silo with Solo and Juliet. And I need a large portion of the episode to be backstory of Solo, of this silo, of exactly what happened, when he went in the vault, the people that tried to burn him, those bodies. I want all that to culminate, as well as Juliet finding Solo now and following the bloody steps. I want that to be an entire episode. And then I want the last 2 episodes, one of them her to just arrive back at her old silo. Everyone realized that Juliet did live. And I just want that as well. I want the code. We still don't know about the door at the bottom of the silo. There's a lot to be answered. But I want a few things by the end of the season. And this is This is a great season of television, as expected. But yeah, it's a longer video than normal for Silo. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.